I know how important it is, rest and recovery and the rhythms of life and how you're organizing your rhythms, and even in different seasons, how you're handling that. So we're going to get into that because as a CEO, we chief energy officer, it's really our job to be able to determine.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
Welcome back to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
And I'm Dr. Stephen Franson.
And one of the things that we enjoy talking about, Doc, more than most things is about leading your own self, leading your life. And this is going to be a conversation all about leadership. It's a conversation we love to have, and that's about rest, recovery, vacation. We're going to be talking about energy. This is such an important conversation. I know we've been talking about this in the previous episodes coming up to this. We felt like it's about that time. We see this conversation come up, Dr. Stephen, all the time in our coaching calls and our masterminds with CEOs. And it's constantly something that we have to keep a watch on, which is making sure that you're taking time to rest and recover. And we're going to talk about recovery today and the significance of that, and then some best practices. We're going to start high and we're going to get all the way down to the ground on this one. But Dr. Stephen, this is such an important subject matter. I know it has influenced your marriage and your parenting and your businesses and your personal life. Being able to do this and do this well and constantly revisit it. I know for myself, Mary, our family, I know how important it is, rest and recovery and the rhythms of life and how you're organizing your rhythms, and even in different seasons, how you're handling that. So we're going to get into that because as a CEO, we chief energy officer. It's really our job to be able to determine where the energy is going. And it starts with you and how you lead and where your energy is at. And so we're not having time to recover, that owner operator mindset, it's head down, bum up, just keep going until you burn out, right? Drag me out from underneath the high-low kind of situation. That same mindset applies to how we steward our life and how we manage the resources of our time, energy, and focus and money. And so this is such a powerful conversation, Dr. Stephen, and I'm looking forward to this conversation today.
Yeah, this is a paradox, right? So this is a paradoxical situation because I bet everybody listening right now, you're probably hardwired like Dr. Pete and I, right? So we're like hardcore driven, Clydesdale, entrepreneurs. Is like we love to work. We've got a big engine. We're driven. And most of us really love our work. We love how we spend our time working, and we're on purpose, we're on mission, and we get all this recognition and reward. That's a positive feedback mechanism for the more we work. So the short-term experience of it is I'm just going to work more, right? So I'm just going to push harder, put more weight on the bar. I still have energy. Let's have time, right? So our instincts are probably probably what's got us to where we are today, right? So, but at the same time, that falls very much on the shoulders of the owner operator, right? That's the owner operator identity, where you build your business on brute force, right? It's an hour of your time, it's a pound of your flesh, and ultimately, you can experience some impressive success, at least, even if it's short-term success. The truth is it's just not sustainable, right? So, and it's not congruent with what we teach in the wellness paradigm. So it's just so critically important that we pull back, Pete. We pull back and we take a long-term view of this. You hear us talk about taking a 3-year view of your business. Well, I'm just going to encourage everybody to take a 3-decade view of your career, like, and the net impact that you're going to make over a glorious 30, 40, 50-year career as a professional. Or maybe even go further back and look at this from a perspective of 3 generations or more, right? So whether you're talking about your parents and your children, or maybe it's your children and your grandchildren, keep pulling back and recognize that ultimately this is all about the net impact and net experience and net effect of the years that we're blessed with, right? So it turns, your perspective from that hardcore head down, bum up operator who is just driven to produce more today, like move more rocks today, to shifting that identity to the CEO, where we recognize that man, we need to learn how to use leverage to build our businesses, right? So
Yeah.
we need to learn how to leverage other people, systems, processes, procedures, technology, etc. And also a concept that we're going to talk about here today is just leveraging this concept of focus mastery, right? And time mastery, and really being the architect of your life, being the architect of your career. And that, I believe, begins with being the architect of your schedule, your calendar, and your commitments.
I think this is such a critical conversation. And this is why obviously we're having it. But like you, for me, actually taking time to rest has actually been something I've struggled with. So I just want to share this struggle that I have with all of you who are listening. So I know Dr. Stephen, you spoke to that, but and here's why it's like a double whammy, because I have two conditions. One is I love to work. And the second is I love the work that I do. So you can be somebody who loves to work, but kind of doesn't really enjoy their work. And then you kind of figure out, hey man, I need some time to rest, and I'm going to need some time because I love to work, but not that much, but I'm not that guy. I'm like, I love to work and I love the work I do. So it almost doesn't feel like work. So why do I need to stop? And maybe you can relate with me, but the reality is that as much as you might be able to resonate and relate with me, if you continue on that path for a certain amount of time, you will end up burning out. And I saw this happen throughout our profession in my earlier career days when we didn't know how to stop. I actually did not know how to stop, Doc. I'm telling you that like straight up right now on this podcast. I'm like, I literally didn't know how to stop. And even my wife would say, she's like, you don't know how to stop. I'm like, I don't even know what you're saying. I couldn't even hear. I
do not understand the words coming out of your mouth.
I do not know what you're talking about. Like, I'm right here talking to you. Stop right now. Like, what are you talking? She was just like, your brain and you're just go like, you're totally, we're like ships passing. We miss each other. You're just going. And I'm telling you guys right now, it was, I watched it impact negatively my own life, my marriage, my own health, my family. I watched it do the same for others in my life, other people, friends, colleagues, some mentors. And I realized I don't know actually how to stop. I literally don't know how to do it. And I didn't have the skill. I didn't have it.
Yeah.
And so it was something that was very difficult for me to learn. It was painful, to be honest, because I had to tear myself away from my work. It almost felt like I was letting myself down, letting everybody else down. It was very painful. So if any of you right now are listening and are still struggling with this, I'm just going to go ahead and say, we're here for you. We can relate. And it's still something I know for me that I have developed a skill. It takes what I would say courage and faith to do this well. And a lot of organization and discipline and communication and planning, which I just named like a lot of things, but it takes all of the above to do this well. But overall for me, it was actually, I had to do it because I felt very convicted that if I didn't do this, it wasn't going to end well. And I loved your perspective, Dr. Stephen, of we teach, hey, take a 3-year view of your business. And we talk about where we're going to be 3 years from now. We always think now, next, and ultimately, so 3 to 5 years. But that 3-decade perspective of your career, tell you guys, that is a perspective we must have moving forward. I hope you leave this episode just like, man, this is going to be good. I really need to reevaluate things according to this framework. It's going to be huge, Doc.
Yeah. So I appreciate that you went right to the heart of the matter, right? Because it's not just a 30-year view, right? It's like literally impacting your health, your state, your family, your marriage, your kids, like today. It impacted it yesterday, docs. Is like the reality is that you don't have to wait to the net negative impact of not resting, not taking a break, right? So like literally it is, there are consequences, very real consequences. And look, there's always a trade-off, right? So, we're not talking about, hey man, life should be a bowl of cherries. That's not what we're talking about here. But what we're recognizing is that you have to have an awareness of this, right? We're not talking about work-life balance. You know that our perspective is balance is bullshit. If you're trying to save the world, change the planet, change the trajectory of humanity's health, guess what? Balance is a horrible goal. It's a reference point. Just like a sailor uses the horizon, you do not make the destination the horizon. The horizon's a reference point. You need to know where you're out of balance and where you're in balance, and where right now you've decided, certain things are going to be out of whack, and if you're sharing your life with somebody, that there needs to be some level of agreement. So don't get me wrong, it's not about work-life balance. That's not what we're professing. What we're talking about is alignment. Right. And, the objective is alignment, an alignment between your core values, what's most important to you, your vision story, which is what does success look like to you, and your behaviors, which is how do you choose to invest your time, energy, focus, and money to manifest that vision story, right? That's what we're talking about here, guys, is alignment, right? So ultimately, if you were to look at, the impact that's happening every single day with how you choose to invest your time, energy, focus, and your money, that's this conversation, right? So we want to make sure that we set you up for success, so long-term success. And remember, we won't tell you what success looks like, but we'll tell you where success lives. And the construct is when you have alignment between those three things: your core values, what's most important to you, your vision story of what success looks like for you in your life, your business, your marriage, your parenting, name it, and your behaviors, right? So how do you choose? Everybody underline that if you're a note taker. How do you choose to invest your time, energy, and focus, right? So here's the deal. Like, if you're going to be the architect of your life, architects are planners, right? So they're future paced, right? So if you start looking at saying, all right, so I heard you 3 decades. It's like, okay, from that perspective, what you want to recognize is that there's a natural phenomenon at play here, right? When you start pulling back, what you recognize is you get smaller, and what you recognize is you're part of this system called nature. And if you pay attention to the way nature works, the way God designed this natural system, there's a rhythm to it, right? There's a seasonal rhythm to it. I mean, the easiest way I think of it is like if you were a farmer, or you own a vineyard or what have you, there's 4 distinct seasons rhythmically through the year, right? So there's 4 seasons with the weather and meteorology, for example, but there's 4 seasons that coincide with that. If you were to say you owned a vineyard, for example, and that first season is a heavy work season, right? Where you're clearing the land, right? Trees down, get the boulders out of the way. Where you're tilling the soil, cutting those lines, you're seeding, right? So you are laying down you making sure that there's hydration, right? So you're making sure that all the soil is right, like the fertilizer, and there's a lot of work in that first season, and then there's a rest season. But we all know that there's no rest if you own a farm, right? This is where you work on your equipment, get the barns ready, etc. But really, there's a rest season for the soil, right? There's a lot going on under the surface where, that plant is coming to life, right? So it's a hard work season that's followed rhythmically with a rest period. And during that rest period, that's when the magic is happening. That's where all the life and the growth comes to manifest, right? And then there's a third season, which is harvest, and it's harvest time, and that's when you go and you get your bounty, right? So that's a lot of work. That's a big work spike season, right? And on the backside of that season of urgency, when you have to get that fruit off the vine, so to speak, then you take it to market, right? And so you go into this rest season again, where maybe you're shipping it off to market and you're not involved, or what have you, or maybe it's time to slow down that physical demand and sell your wares, right? So you can see, Dr. Pete, that beautiful rhythm is just an illustration of how we're designed, because we're animals, man. We're part of nature. We don't, we're subject to this, and we have to recognize if we own the law of the jungle, which is your business is always a reflection of your energy. When your energy's up, your business is up. When your energy's flat, your business is flat. When your energy's down, your business is down. As the CEO, the chief energy officer, we've got to understand what influences our energy, right? So to look at this and be able to say from a really 30,000 foot view, a global perspective of our experience, is we've got to recognize, respect, and participate in the natural law of rhythm in your life.
There's so many places I want to go right now in this conversation. It's going to require some restraint and discipline here. So I'll just try to keep it to this, which is the conversation about alignment is just, it's so deep. It's so profound. It's so important. And I think this has to do with your ability to know yourself and lead yourself. So you talked about, okay, so alignment is where your vision story, your core values, and your behaviors all collide in this place. And it's not a thing that we just have on paper. It's not even a goal. It's actually a way of life. So it's practiced daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. That's the thing. It's not as simple as like, oh, cool. So, oh yeah, I've done my vision story. I know what my core values are, and my behaviors. This is your life. It's your style of living. It's how you live your life. And when those three things are being executed, right? We talk about the three legs of the stool of results. Well, when you have your vision story, your core values, and your behaviors all aligned, that's where your results live. Your results live in that. So any area of your life where you are out of alignment, and you may choose a season to say, hey, I'm working 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. because I gotta harvest the potatoes. I gotta get the green beans to the market. Hey, I know for the next 4 to 6 weeks, you ain't gonna see daddy. That may happen. Okay.
It will happen.
It will happen.
It
Precisely.
will happen. And you actually have to plan for it.
Yes. Yeah. And I remember, Doc, and when I say I remember, we do this now still. We're like, all right, we're about to go into a season. There's going to be a push, and we all know it. We're like, everybody good? Who needs? Am I need a drink of water? Everybody good? Here we go.
Stretch out, warm up a little.
Yeah, do a little warm up. About to go in, tie those shoes, a little double knot them, double knots. Because we're about to go, and so I think for us, as a leader, so I want to talk to the leader, and I want to talk to the leader who's leading people. Is you have to have an awareness and making sure that you are taking care of yourself. So I've done two things. I did one way backwards, which was my team was really well taken care of. They were resting. They were taking time to rest. Their schedules were good if they needed time. But Pete, he wasn't. He was just going, taking one for the team, constantly taking one for the team. And I lived my career for many years like that. The team was, they got time, they needed time off. If something happened, that was happening. Pete, oh no, Pete doesn't stop. No, he doesn't get time off. He doesn't get a rest. He doesn't go. Very dysfunctional. Then there's a season where I realized that was what was going on. So then I started to say, okay, I need to be able to take time for myself. I need to take rest. I need to have vacations. I need to have some freedom and flexibility. And that's really another conversation for a different day. But as the leader of the organization, you lead by your example, by how you live your life in alignment. And so I looked at the casualties along the way of my own way of doing things, and it affected my team for those years. And I was responsible for that, for my own self, for my team, my family. When I discovered this, I realized that the better that I was stewarding my life and living in alignment myself, the better care I actually also took of my people, the team. And as the CEO, you're actually responsible for the health of your organization as well, not just yourself. So remember, if you're not doing this yourself, there is a guaranteed effect that's going to affect everybody that's you're called to lead. It is guaranteed to happen. So with that, this conversation is important because it starts with you. And when you can start to get this right in alignment, understanding the season, gaining the perspective, getting that view, seeing how really small you get as the more you pan out and how significant getting this right is, I'll tell you what, not only is this going to have a huge effect on you, the people closest to you, your family, your team, you're also going to be teaching your community, the people you've been called to serve and teach how to be healthy and well. You're actually also teaching them, because humanity right now needs this more than ever before, because we got stuff going on in our lives. We don't know how to slow down and stop.
So Pete, I mean, I love this. This conversation just got bigger because now we're really talking about, leading, as a leader, you go through these ascensions, right? So there's one level of leadership, this low level of leadership where it's like, we're just committed to the grind and production, right? At the expense of whatever it takes. So it's like that's a low level of leadership, which means that leader's typically leading a team that's just in the grind and just focused on one thing, productivity, even if it's short term, right? We're in this for a productive time, not for a long time, right? So that's where that focus. And then that leader realizes, oh my gosh, I can't keep leading like this. Okay. I can't keep doing this. So they make an ascension where they right the ship and they get alignment with their life, core values, vision, story, and their behaviors. Right. And then the next level of leadership, the next ascension available to all of us is that we actually take our team with us. And we actually live out those core values as an organization, not just as the leader, right? So now you've gone from this first tier to the second tier. Now the third tier level of leadership is when you actually create the environment where those things are not only allowed and tolerated, but promoted, recognized, and rewarded, right? So now what you recognize is like the net energy of the business is what we're talking about. We're not just talking about the energy of the leader. When the energy's up, it's your energy and your team's energy, right? That's when business is up. When your team's energy is flat, the business is flat. When your team's energy is flat, down, the business is down. Once you recognize that as a leader, it's like, okay, so now culturally, we need to set this up right. We need to set our goals accordingly. We need to set our plan accordingly, our marketing plan. We have to set up our structural, cultural reporting systems and meeting rhythms right? So right down to how we recognize and reward people, right? So Dr. Pete, you know what, as we unpack this, I really do think it deserves its own dedicated episode. So I think our next episode, we get into the practicality of this, right? Let's start talking about like, well, how do you lay that out? How do you lay out a 3-year view of your business? How do you lay out the annual calendar? How do you do that week by week calendar? How does that really hit the ground? And then let's zoom all the way into like a day to day. Like, how do we optimize our energy by respecting the laws of the jungle, right? So recognizing this seasonal rhythm to it. And then how does that go from that 30,000 foot view all the way down to 10,000, which is that 3-year plan, all the way to the 1,000, which is the 1-year plan, all the way down to the boots on the ground of my week schedule, my daily schedule, rituals and routines. Man, I think that makes its own episode. And I think we go right on the heels of this one and we create a dedicated episode on what can you do practically to optimize your energy by leveraging every opportunity for recovery.
All right, crew. So I am here in the studio, excited to have a conversation with all of you and my new friend, Mike Tokash from Imaging Services. I got to know Mike actually at an event in South Jersey. We went to an event and I met Mike there and immediately, hit it off. And as a chiropractor, I think, and CEO, you're always, you go to events, you're meeting people, you're meeting these different, service providers, vendors in the industry. And, it was one of those moments where I realized, hey, this is the type of guy that I want to work with. He immediately showed me, like, here are all the clients that I work with nationwide. You can call any of them. Here's what we've done for these docs. We're saving them money. We're helping them, with their business. And I just liked that he was a straight shooter. So I said, hey, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Remarkable Practice before, Remarkable CEO, but we could use somebody like you in our ecosystem, talking shop with our docs and helping them do what they do and make their businesses more profitable and just help serve their people better. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you, Mike. Again, appreciate you being a success partner in the Remarkable Practice and helping our remarkable CEOs become more remarkable CEOs. So I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to tee you up, ask you the first question I have for you today. I know I promised you I'd ask you only 3 questions, so I'm going to try to keep to it. The first question I have for you, Mike, is, what specific problems do you solve at Imaging Services for the practicing chiropractor?
So, Doc, I think what I bring to chiropractic, because I love chiropractic. That's my whole focus, right? I mean, forget the orthopedic guys, forget the hospital. I gave them all my salespeople. Chiropractic, because I'm going to tell you a story later on why. There's a reason why. But, Imaging Services, we sell X-ray equipment. Everybody sells X-ray equipment. We sell digital equipment. What makes us different is because we believe in chiropractic and I'm going to use that word believe. I don't know where to replace that, but you know, you guys are really doctors, right? You got to practice, you got a business, and that's the way I approach it. Because as being an owner of a business, I go through the same hardships that you guys go through, right? How do I build my business? And I even relate to my business as being a practice. And I followed a lot of chiropractors, mentors, and wow, you got to be successful because they're out there to help you, just like you guys. You guys are out there to help your clients become successful. And that's what I'm trying to do, right? So my plan is not just to sell you a product, it's to be with you through that whole process and ongoing forever, right? As long as I'm alive.
So I know that one of the things that happened to me when I was in practice, Mike, was I had an original, old X-ray unit in, and I specifically, one of my challenges was I was very busy, high volume. We took a lot of X-rays. We ran more of like a CBP Pedibond type practice.
Mhm.
We did a lot of pre and post films, a lot of X-rays in my office, and it got to be really expensive with the films, plain films, and all the materials, and all of that. And so we made a decision. We needed to go digital, right? So that was a decision that we
Absolutely.
made, and that was one of the best decisions I ever made. Can you talk to the docs about kind of what's going on in the industry right now? As far as, X-ray imaging, the quality, how it integrates in even with different like EHR softwares, things like that. Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Absolutely, Doc. So I only sell one product. I can sell them all. There's only one specifically that is made by a company called 2020 Konica Minolta for chiropractic. Their focus is chiropractic, right? So, CVP software, Gonstead, Nuka, whatever you can even think of is in this package, right? I have never gotten a complaint that I can't find something, right? They'll go ahead and write it for you, right? So, this digital system, if you look at film at a 400 speed and your dose, like if you had an old system and I want to retrofit to it, you're at 400 speed. The new panel is at 600 speed. So you're going to use less dose to the patient, which is really nice. Longevity of your old equipment. I don't try and sell you new equipment, Doc. If you have something used, we're gonna retrofit to it. Hey, if we got to replace it down the road, we do. I'm not here as a salesperson. I'm here to help you get revenue dollars in, speed your practice up. Even think of guys were going to CR because it was less expensive than DR. So now DR, shoot it, image up in 3 seconds. Man, Doc, you're in and out of that room. You got a quality image. You can see behind me, here's film and here's digital. There's no comparative, right? And I think what the digital does too, it gives you the credibility. You're sending out an image to a doc bar. You don't want to send him a film, right? He wants to see that image. And every radiologist in chiropractic out there accepts this image. And this image is made for hospitals, right? It's not just made for private practice. There's a lot of companies out there that sell, digital systems, but they would never be in a hospital. This system's in a hospital, okay? Same software, same panel. But what it does is it gives you that speed and it gives you that quality of an image, and you can manipulate the image now. You can't do that with a film. This image here, this doc actually drew a line on it and it's crooked, right? Now we have a straight line. And Doc, one thing I look at is being a patient of chiropractic, right? I know a lot of vendors are not even patients of chiropractic. I want to see my image. I want to know why I got to keep on coming back. Doc, if I got to pay you $3,900 for a care plan, I want to see some images down the road. I want you to show me why I need to keep on coming back, because I'm going to feel good. I'm going to cancel an appointment, right? So this is really a tool. We can go about return on investment, but this is really a tool to keep me coming back as a patient. You put a perfect cervical up there versus what I have today, and now I can see why I got to keep on coming back. It's patient care. It's ongoing care. And people believe chiropractors, oh, you got to keep on coming back. Well, yeah, you got to go see your dentist every year or two. So it's ongoing care. And this is what I think this is a real good tool to help you get there. Besides credibility.
Yeah, I mean, huge. I mean, you just made a couple really good points. One of the things we talk about is leverage in our program is, CEO uses leverage. The other thing we talk about is information flows to you. You talked about both leveraging the technology and also the speed with which the information and the data is coming in, the quality with which the data is coming in, the images and what you can do to manipulate that so you can actually educate your patients. We talk about the chiropractor's job is to educate and adjust. And then obviously retention is going to be huge for us. And, we want to, increase the likelihood that patients really going to understand, right? We talk about conversion is emotional. But retention is very intellectual. So you're really talking about the intellectual side. When you talk about using these films, pre and post films, and really comparing to normal versus, what yours are. Again, these are all really important things from a business side. You're exactly right, from patient education side for that business. And also just, you want to make sure that you're delivering the best possible care you can. So you want to have the best image so you can see exactly what's going on. So you can communicate accurately with your patients, whether it's you or your associate doctors or someone else, from your team that's handling some of that. All right. Third question here I've got for you is, how do our CEOs, you're talking to a bunch of CEOs here today. And so how do they measure ROI? Like, speaking business to business here. I'm a business owner and we're talking about ROI. What can I expect? Time, how are you saving us time? Energy. What does this look like as far as like an energy saver? Like, what are we looking at as far as focus? How does your product help the doctors, their CAs, their tech CAs? How does it help them focus? And ultimately money. How does this help the doctors make more money?
So, Doc, there's a lot of questions there, right? So I'm going to answer the best way I can. Okay. So when a patient comes into your facility, right, you're going to do an evaluation, send them in the X-ray, but a lot of doctors send them down the street. Okay. First of all, if you send me down the street as a patient, Doc, I'm not coming back. I may love you, but I'm not going to come back and see you. I don't have time for that, right? And the same thing with the business. You don't have time to spend developing a film, having the patient come back, right? You don't have time to retake images. So now digital, what that does for you, you are very valuable, right? Your time is the most valuable thing in your practice. So what happens is you're in and out of that room in 10 minutes instead of being 25 minutes. Your patient can see your images right there. I know a lot of practices that do 1-2 day right away. You're going to take your images, Doc, see them right away. Man, put that patient right on the table. I'd like to design rooms with an adjusting table right in the room of the X-ray, because you're going to see your image right then and there and know exactly what's going to go on with that patient. You could do your first adjustment like that, right? But the thing is, you're going to have your image up. It's going to be quality, and you won't be embarrassed. I'll tell you a great story. This doctor comes to me and says, Michael, I knew I should have done this years ago. He said, because this is exactly what would happen to me. I would get my film. I'm going to show you. So here's my process. I develop my film. My patient's gone, and I'm standing there saying, "Come on, come on, come on!" Oh, shit! Look at this friggin' thing, right? So now you got to bring the patient back. What's the value of that, right? So, and your headache and your time, right? You need to be focused on your patients, right? Not focused whether you're going to get a good film or not, right? So that's one thing. The return on investment, Doc, is your patient's going to want to keep on coming back. They're going to understand, here's my perfect cervical versus what I have today, or here's where I am today. Why did I come back, Doc? I feel better. Well, yeah, here's why. People are visual, right? That's a big return that for me too. The film, the chemistry, the processor, the breakdowns. Is it even going to work today? Well, this digital is working today. You get confidence. Doc, you bring a 300-pound patient in, right? You don't even know whether to take an X-ray or not if you're using film. You're not even going to get a great image. Digital, bang, done. You'll love 325-pound patients. I had this doc call me about 3 weeks ago and says, Michael, do you have a bigger caliber? I'm like, Doc, you got 40 centimeters. He said, well, can I weld two of them together? I said, no, just shoot the patient, right? Shot the patient, going back to them. We're never sending anybody out again. So that's a big return, because there is dollars there, Doc. when I leave your facility and go to the hospital and get my x-rays, I'm doing some out of pocket, right?
Yeah.
So a cash practice is really good. I'll pay you because I'm educated and know I got to pay that hospital money anyway. I'd rather pay to you, right? Because
So
people are supporting that
final
small business.
question on this. Final question on this, because I feel like you're speaking right to the value here, is just very practically about customer service. So, I think as a provider, you bring in, let's say, a doc has been sending somebody down the street, and then they say, all right, we're going to make an investment. We're going to bring, X-ray into the practice. What does it look like as far as, customer service from your side? If they need help, something goes wrong, something that's not working on the machine, what does that look like with a company like yours?
Doc, that's a great question. So here's what I do. I'm the only company that does this. See, this mouse pad comes with my system. It's the personal phone number of my tech support. Okay. Other companies, when they sell you a digital system, you have to call tech support. I'm going to throw a name out there, Dr. George Curry, $1 million practice. Could you imagine him being on the phone for 3 hours with technical support because he can't get him on the phone? They don't even know who he is. So I hired the best technical support guy from the manufacturer who helped invent the software. He's on my staff. His name is Hans Stewart. You get his cell phone number. Doc, he's in and out of your system in minutes, right? That's something I give you for 5 years when you buy a system from me. That's huge because anybody can sell you a system, anybody can install it, but it's about the service after. Just like a chiropractor, it's about your services after that patient comes into your door, right?
Absolutely. All right.
Huge.
So bonus question for you, Doc. I'm calling you Doc because you feel like I'm talking to a doc.
Everybody does.
Yeah, Michael, how do our docs get in touch with you? I know that we love seeing you at our immersion events, and we just really love having you guys there. But for anybody listening to the podcast, how do they get in touch with you if they want to have a conversation? They want to talk to you about some things going on with their business, with their imaging. How do they get in touch with you, Doc?
Doc, the only way I like customers to get a hold of me is to call my cell phone. My cell phone number, 610-812-3079. My phone is on 24/7. Remember, I'm dedicated to chiropractic, right? You're going to call my cell phone number. You're going to get me, whether it's a Saturday, Doc, I'm doing the whole United States. I'm not a local company just doing, Eastern Pennsylvania, right? I'm selling in Texas, California, Washington, Colorado. I have to be available, 9 o'clock tonight on Eastern time. My cell phone's on. Docs will call me at 10 o'clock at night. But this is what I do, and I love it. I'm excited about it, right? I mean, I know I betray that. I feel like I betray that. I want you to call me, right? Even if you don't buy it from me, let me help you. Let me be your consultant, okay? I'll consult with you, tell you it's a great deal, whether it's a good deal. A lot of docs like buying used equipment. Then I give my email, send me pictures of it. Now you have somebody that's an X-ray company, an owner, that is there to help you through this whole process. Some docs don't even know what they're buying. Well, let me tell you what you're buying, right? Don't have surprise, Doc. It's a big investment, right? So a digital panel is 18 grand. It used to be 40 grand. But when it relates to dollars, it's $340 a month, right? You're probably spending 400 hours just to use film and chemistry. And chemistry is going up. Film prices are going up. Processors are breaking down. Nobody even sells them anymore. So this is the avenue. Let me help you. And that's all I want to do is help you, right? If I sell you, that's great. But if I help you, I feel great too.
Well, you guys heard it here. Hey, Mike Tokash, this is Michael Tokash from Imaging Services. Thank you so much for joining me and us on our Remarkable CEO podcast. And we look forward to seeing you and Imaging Services at our upcoming immersion events and throughout this year. Again, thank you for being a part of our Remarkable Success Partner team. You help our chiropractors and doctors be more successful and help more people. We greatly appreciate you. Take care, everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely.